as the world cools down and the stars begin to shine in the velvet sky, let your mind drift to a time long forgotten, to a land where rivers whispered secrets of an ancient civilization. Tonight, we embark on a journey to the Indus Valley, a cradle of human ingenuity nestled between the life-giving waters of the Indus River and the rugged embrace of the Himalayas. This is not just a tale of bricks and cities, but of people who wove their dreams into the fabric of history, leaving behind echoes that still resonate in the dust of time. Picture yourself walking through bustling streets, hearing the soft clink of terracotta pottery, the murmur of voices in a language lost to the ages, and the gentle ripple of water in meticulously crafted channels. This is a story of harmony, mystery, and resilience, a story that unfolds like a lullaby, crafted to carry you into the arms of sleep. This video is designed to be your companion as you unwind, a soothing narrative that blends the richness of history with the calm of a bedtime tale. Whether you're nestled under a blanket or gazing at the moon's soft glow, let the history of the Indus Valley civilization wrap around you like a warm embrace. I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight. Perhaps a cozy bedroom in New York, a quiet corner in London, or a starlit terrace in Mumbai. What time is it there, and what brought you here to this moment? Drop a comment below to share your thoughts. And if you enjoy this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story. Your support keeps these tailies alive, and I'm thrilled to have you along for this adventure. Hello, my name is Sherry, and welcome to my channel. So let's begin. Imagine a land where the first light of dawn spills over a vast plain, kissed by rivers that wind like silver threads through a tapestry of green and gold. Long before empires rose and fell, before the clamor of modern cities, there was the Indus Valley, a cradle of human dreams nestled between the mighty Himalayas and the shimmering Arabian Sea. The air here carried the scent of fertile earth, the hum of life stirring in the warmth of a subtropical sun. The Indus River, broad and relentless, carved its path through this landscape, flanked by its tributaries like loyal companions. It was here, some 5,000 years ago, that a people began to weave their story into the fabric of time, their footsteps soft but resolute upon the soil. The Indus Valley was no ordinary place. Its geography was a gift, a stage set by nature for a civilization to flourish. To the north, the Himalayas stood as silent sentinels, their snow-capped peaks feeding the rivers that sustained life below. To the west, the rugged hills of Balochistan offered protection and resources, while the eastern plains stretched toward the Thar Desert, a boundary both harsh and humbling. The Indus itself was the lifeblood, its seasonal floods depositing rich silt that turned the land into a farmer's paradise. Beside it, the Gagarhakra River, now a ghostly trace in the desert, once flowed with equal vigor, its waters nurturing settlements that would grow into great cities. Picture the scene: reeds swaying in the breeze, wild grasses whispering secrets, and the distant call of a water buffalo as it wades through shallow streams. This was a land that invited settlement, that beckoned to those who sought to root themselves in its embrace. Who were these first people of the Indus? They were not born of a single moment, but emerged gradually, their origins shrouded in the mists of prehistory. Archaeologists speak of early farming communities scattered across the plains as early as 7000 BCE, their lives tethered to the rhythms of sowing and reaping. These were the Mayagar people, dwellers of a humble settlement in what is now Balochistan. Their mud brick homes, simple yet sturdy, dotted the landscape, surrounded by fields of wheat and barley. They tamed animals, goats, sheep, and cattle, and learned to shape clay into vessels that held the bounty of their labor. As centuries passed, these early farmers grew bolder, their villages expanding along the river's edges. They were a people who listened to the land, who understood its cycles and honored its gifts. By 3300 BCE, something remarkable began to unfold. These scattered communities started to coalesce, drawn together by shared needs and ambitions. The rivers, ever generous, offered more than sustenance. They provided pathways for trade, for connection. Small villages grew into towns, and towns began to pulse with the energy of something greater. The people of the Indus Valley were not merely surviving, they were building. Their settlements, like seeds taking root, spread across the plains, from the foothills of the north to the coastal edges of the south. They crafted tools of stone and bone, wove textiles from cotton, and traded beads of carnelian and agate that gleamed like captured starlight. Their world was one of quiet innovation, where each step forward was a testament to their ingenuity. But this was only the beginning. The Indus Valley was stirring, its potential waiting to be unleashed. As the centuries turned, the people began to dream bigger, their ambitions reaching beyond the horizon. They looked to the rivers not just for water, but for possibility, for cities that would rise like jewels in the dust, for a civilization that would etch its name into eternity. What drove them to take this leap? Was it the promise of prosperity, the call of community, or something deeper, a shared vision that bound them together? As the sun sets over the plains and the first stars appear, we stand at the edge of a new chapter, one where mud brick villages give way to something far grander. What secrets lie in the cities they built, and what stories wait to be uncovered in their stones. As the twilight deepens and the world grows still, let your mind wander to a time when the Indus Valley began to pulse with new life. The scattered villages of the plains, once humble clusters of mud brick homes, were transforming. By 2600 BCE, the people of this ancient land had dared to dream beyond the horizon, building cities that stood as testaments to their vision and skill. Among them, two names echo through the ages: Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, twin jewels of the Indus Valley civilization. These were not mere settlements, but meticulously planned urban marvels, where streets aligned with the precision of a weaver's loom, and homes hummed with the rhythms of daily life. Picture yourself standing at the edge of one of these cities, the air warm with the scent of baked earth, the distant murmur of voices blending with the soft lap of river water. This is where the Indus story truly begins to shine. Harappa, perched along the banks of the Ravi River, was a city that seemed to rise from the earth itself. Its walls, built of sun-baked bricks, glowed golden in the morning light, a fortress of order amidst the wild plains. Mohenjo-Daro, further south along the Indus, was its grand counterpart, sprawling across a vast expanse where the river's embrace was both protector and provider. These cities, though separated by hundreds of miles, shared a remarkable unity in design. Their streets were laid out in a grid, straight and purposeful, as if drawn by the hand of a master architect. Wide boulevards ran parallel to narrower lanes, creating a pattern so precise it feels almost modern. Imagine walking these streets, your footsteps soft on the packed earth, passing homes with flat roofs where families gathered under the stars. The air carries the faint clink of tools, the laughter of children, and the low hum of a city alive with purpose. The architecture of these cities was a marvel of both form and function. Houses, built from standardized baked bricks, were not the haphazard dwellings of earlier times, but carefully constructed homes, some rising 2 stories high. Each had its own courtyard, a private oasis where families cooked, wove, and shared stories. Many homes boasted private wells, their stone-lined depths offering cool, clean water, a luxury that speaks of a society that valued comfort and ingenuity. The walls were thick, designed to keep out the heat of the summer sun, while doorways opened onto shaded alleys where neighbors exchanged greetings. In Mohenjo-Daro, the great bath stood as a centerpiece, a vast rectangular pool with steps descending into its depths, its brickwork sealed with bitumen to hold water like a sacred vessel. Was it a place of ritual, of cleansing, or simply a communal space to escape the heat? Its purpose remains a whisper in the stones, but its presence speaks of a people who cherished order and beauty. The people of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were not just builders, but creators of a vibrant urban life. Markets buzzed with activity, where traders bartered grains, cotton, and beads for goods from distant lands. Artisans shaped clay into pots, adorned with intricate designs, spirals, fish, and peacocks that danced across their surfaces. Children played with terracotta toys, tiny carts, and whistles that hint at moments of joy amidst the bustle. The cities were alive with diversity, home to farmers, craftspeople, traders, and perhaps even priests or leaders who guided their course. Yet, unlike the towering ziggurats of Mesopotamia or the pyramids of Egypt, these cities had no grand palaces or temples dominating the skyline. Was this a sign of a society that valued equality over hierarchy? Or have the traces of their elites simply faded with time? The sophistication of these cities extended beyond their walls. Drainage systems, unseen but essential, ran beneath the streets. Channels of baked brick carrying waste away to keep the cities clean. Public wells dotted the landscape, ensuring water reached every corner. Granaries, massive and sturdy, stored the surplus of harvests, a safeguard against lean years. This was a civilization that planned for the future, that understood the delicate balance between human ambition and nature's whims. As you imagine the glow of oil lamps flickering in the windows of Mohenjo-Daro, the soft chatter of families settling in for the night, you can feel the pulse of a society at its peak. But what drove these people to create such order, such harmony? Was it necessity, vision, or something deeper, a shared belief that bound them together? As the stars wheel overhead and the night grows deeper, the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro stand silent, their streets waiting to reveal more. Beyond their walls, a vast network of trade and craft was beginning to weave the Indus Valley into the wider world. What treasures did their merchants carry? And what stories did they bring back from distant shores? The answers lie just ahead, waiting to unfold like a river finding its course. As the night settles around you, soft and enveloping, let your thoughts drift to the bustling markets of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, where the air hums with the energy of creation and exchange. The Indus Valley civilization, now in its full bloom around 2500 BCE, was not a world of isolated cities, but a vibrant tapestry woven with threads of trade and craftsmanship. Picture a marketplace at dawn, the first rays of sunlight glinting off polished beads, the scent of sandalwood and spices mingling with the earthy aroma of freshly fired clay. Merchants, their voices low and melodic, call out to passers-by, offering goods that tell stories of distant lands and skilled hands. This was a civilization that reached far beyond its rivers, its people crafting treasures that traveled across mountains and seas, binding them to the ancient world in ways that still captivate our imagination. The artisans of the Indus Valley were masters of their craft, their hands shaping materials with a precision that borders on the poetic. In workshops tucked into the city's orderly grids, they worked with clay, stone, and metal, transforming the raw gifts of the earth into objects of beauty and utility. Bead making was an art form here, one that required both patience and skill. Craftspeople drilled tiny holes through carnelian, agate, and lapis lazuli, creating beads so fine they could thread a needle's eye. These beads, polished to a mirror-like sheen, were not mere ornaments, but symbols of status and connection, strung into necklaces that might adorn a trader's wife or travel thousands of miles to a Mesopotamian market. Imagine holding one of these beads, its surface cool and smooth, carrying the weight of 1,000 untold stories. Pottery, too, was a cornerstone of Indus craft. Potters shaped clay into vessels of every size, from delicate cups to massive storage jars. Their surfaces painted with intricate designs, geometric patterns, leaping antelopes, and sacred pipal leaves. These were not just containers, but canvases, each telling a fragment of the culture's soul. The kilns, glowing red in the twilight, were the heartbeat of these workshops, firing clay into durability that has lasted millennia. Some pots bore the marks of their makers, a fingerprint pressed into wet clay, a silent signature from a hand long gone. As you picture these artisans at work, their focus unbroken by the chatter of the city, you can almost hear the soft scrape of tools and the crackle of cooling clay. But the Indus people were not content with beauty alone. They were innovators in metallurgy, too. They smelted copper and bronze, forging tools, razors, and fishhooks that gleamed with purpose. Tin, likely traded from distant Afghanistan, was alloyed with copper to create bronze, stronger and more versatile. These tools were not just practical, but beautifully crafted, their edges honed to a fine point, a testament to a society that valued both form and function. Some artisans even worked with gold and silver, shaping delicate ornaments that caught the light like captured stars. These creations were not hoarded, but shared, traded across vast distances to places as far as the Persian Gulf and the cities of Sumer. Trade was the lifeblood of the Indus Valley, a network that stretched like a spider's web across the ancient world. From Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, merchants set out with caravans laden with cotton textiles, beads, and pottery, traveling overland through the passes of the Hindu Kush or by sea along the Arabian coast. Their boats, likely made of reeds and wood, bobbed along the currents, carrying goods to the ports of Dilmun and Magan, where they traded with Mesopotamian merchants for silver, lapis lazuli, and even ideas. Seals, small squares of steatite carved with animals and cryptic symbols, were the calling cards of these traders, pressed into clay to mark ownership or authenticity. Each seal was a tiny masterpiece, a unicorn or bull staring out with an enigmatic gaze, hinting at a culture rich with meaning we can only guess at. The markets of the Indus cities were a crossroads of cultures, where languages mingled and stories were exchanged like coins. Traders from distant lands brought tales of ziggurats and kings, while Indus merchants shared their own innovations, weights and measures so precise they rivaled modern standards, standardized bricks that ensured uniformity across cities. This was a civilization that thrived on connection, its people weaving a network that spanned continents. As you imagine a merchant unloading his goods under the shade of a banyan tree, the marketplace alive with the clatter of carts and the laughter of barter, you can feel the pulse of a world in motion. Yet amidst this flurry of trade and craft, a mystery lingers. The seals, with their strange symbols, hint at a language we cannot yet read, a script that holds the key to the Indus people's thoughts. What did they write on those seals? And what secrets did they share in the quiet of their cities? As the night deepens and the stars grow brighter, the story of the Indus Valley calls us forward to a world of words unspoken and meanings waiting to be unveiled. As the night wraps you in its gentle embrace, let your mind drift to the quiet corners of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, where the flicker of oil lamps casts shadows on mud brick walls. In these ancient cities, the people of the Indus Valley crafted not only objects, but ideas, etching their thoughts into small squares of steatite that fit in the palm of a hand. These were the seals of the Indus, each one a tiny enigma, adorned with animals, symbols, and a script that remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Imagine holding one of these seals, its surface worn smooth by countless hands, its cryptic signs whispering secrets that have eluded scholars for centuries. This is the story of the Indus script, a language unspoken, yet brimming with the hopes, dreams, and lives of a civilization that thrived over 4,000 years ago. The Indus script is not written on grand monuments or sprawling scrolls, but on objects of everyday life, seals, pottery, and even tiny tablets of clay. These inscriptions are brief, often no more than 5 or 10 symbols, yet they carry the weight of a culture's voice. Picture a merchant in Mohenjo-Daro, carefully pressing his seal into wet clay to mark a bundle of goods, perhaps cotton bound for Mesopotamia or beads destined for a distant bazaar. The seal's surface might bear the image of a unicorn, its head held high, or a humped bull, its eyes fierce yet serene. Above or beside the animal, a line of symbols dances, short strokes, loops, and signs like tridents or jars, each one precise, deliberate. These were not random marks, but a system, a way to record, to communicate, to claim ownership in a world of bustling trade. The script itself is a puzzle, a labyrinth of over 400 distinct signs, some resembling fish, others like ladders or combs. Unlike the hieroglyphs of Egypt, with their vivid tales of gods and pharaohs, or the cuneiform of Mesopotamia, which chronicled kings and conquests, the Indus script is silent. No Rosetta Stone has emerged to unlock its meaning. No bilingual text to guide us. Scholars have pored over these signs for decades, their theories as varied as the stars above. Some believe the script encodes a language, perhaps an early form of Dravidian, still spoken in parts of South India today. Others argue it is not a language at all, but a system of symbols, names, titles, or even magical charms meant to invoke protection. Imagine the frustration of standing before a locked door, the key just out of reach. Yet the beauty of the mystery itself draws you closer. The seals were not the only bearers of this script. Potters scratched signs onto their vessels, perhaps to mark their work or to note their contents. Tiny tablets, no larger than a coin, bore inscriptions alongside images of rituals or animals, suggesting a purpose beyond mere commerce. Were these tokens of trade, records of offerings, or even amulets carried for luck? In Harappa, archaeologists found a signboard, a rare, larger piece with 10 symbols in a row, as if it stood at a city gate or marketplace, proclaiming something to all who passed. What did it say? A welcome to travelers, a warning, or a declaration of the city's pride. The silence of the script invites us to imagine, to fill the gaps with the voices of those who once walked these streets. The act of writing itself speaks volumes about the Indus people. This was a society that valued order, that sought to capture the fleeting chaos of life in symbols that endured. The script's consistency across vast distances, from Harappa in the north to Lothal on the Gujarat coast, hints at a shared culture, a common thread binding far-flung cities. Scribes, perhaps trained in workshops or homes, must have labored to learn these signs, their hands steady as they carved into soft stone. Picture a young scribe sitting cross-legged under the shade of a pipal tree, practicing his craft while the city hums around him. Did he write of grain stores, of trade deals, or perhaps of stories and songs now lost to time? The brevity of the inscriptions suggests a people who valued clarity, who distilled their thoughts into the essence of meaning. Yet, the mystery of the script is not just a challenge, but a bridge to the past. Each symbol is a glimpse into the minds of the Indus people, a fragment of their world. Were they naming their gods, their families, their cities? Were they recording the weight of a harvest or the hopes of a trader setting sail? The script's silence is its power, inviting us to listen with our hearts as much as our minds. As you imagine those ancient hands carving signs under the glow of a desert moon, you can feel the weight of their unwritten stories pressing against the present. But the Indus people spoke in more than symbols. Their lives were woven with rituals, with beliefs that gave meaning to their world. What gods did they worship, and what ceremonies lit up the nights of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro? As the stars above you grow brighter, the story of the Indus Valley beckons us deeper, into a realm of sacred fires and whispered prayers, where the soul of a civilization comes alive. As the night deepens and the world grows hushed, let your imagination drift to the heart of an Indus Valley city, where the glow of oil lamps flickers like stars fallen to earth. In Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, life was not only a matter of trade and craft, but of meaning, of seeking connection with forces greater than the self. The people of the Indus Valley wove their beliefs into the fabric of their days, their rituals blending the sacred with the everyday. Picture a quiet courtyard at dusk, where a family gathers around a small clay figure, its eyes gazing into eternity, or a communal bath where water ripples with whispered prayers. The spiritual life of this civilization, though veiled in mystery, shines through the artifacts they left behind, inviting us to walk softly through their world of faith and reverence. Unlike the towering temples of Egypt or the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the Indus cities have no grand shrines dominating their skylines. This absence has puzzled scholars, yet it speaks of a spirituality that was intimate, woven into the rhythms of daily life rather than confined to monumental structures. In Mohenjo-Daro, the Great Bath stands as a silent witness to this. Its vast pool, lined with baked bricks and sealed with bitumen, gleams under the moonlight, its steps worn smooth by countless feet. Was this a place of ritual purification, where people cleansed their bodies and souls before sacred ceremonies? Or was it a communal space where the act of bathing became a shared moment of renewal? Imagine standing at its edge, the water cool against your skin, the air heavy with the scent of sandalwood, and the murmur of voices raised in song. Scattered across the cities, archaeologists have found small terracotta figurines, delicate and expressive, that offer glimpses into the Indus people's beliefs. Many depict women, their bodies adorned with elaborate headdresses and jewelry, their postures suggesting fertility or motherhood. Were these representations of a great goddess, a deity who nurtured the land as the rivers did? Some figurines show animals, bulls, tigers, or elephants, crafted with such care they seem to pulse with life. These may have been offerings placed in homes or shrines to invoke protection or abundance. Picture a mother pressing a clay bowl into her child's hands, whispering a prayer for strength, or a farmer burying a figurine in his field, trusting it to coax the earth into yielding its bounty. One of the most enigmatic finds is a seal from Mohenjo-Daro, often called the Proto-Shiva. It depicts a figure seated in a yogic pose, surrounded by animals, a horned headdress crowning its head. Could this be an early echo of Shiva, the meditative deity revered in later Indian traditions? The figure's serene presence, its gaze turned inward, suggests a spirituality rooted in contemplation. Perhaps a practice of inner stillness that resonates across millennia. Yet without written records, we can only wonder. Were the Indus people worshipping a single deity, a pantheon, or the forces of nature itself, the rivers, the rains, the fertile earth? Their reverence for the pipal tree, its heart-shaped leaves etched on seals and pots, hints at a deep connection to the natural world, a sacred thread tying them to the land. Rituals likely played a central role in binding communities together. In Harappa, archaeologists uncovered fire altars, shallow pits lined with bricks, their surfaces stained with ash. Imagine a gathering at twilight, the air thick with the scent of burning wood and herbs. As families stood together, their faces lit by the glow of flames. These altars suggest offerings, perhaps of grain or ghee, poured into the fire to honor unseen powers. Small clay cones, found in abundance, may have been used in these rituals, their tips dipped in ochre or pressed into sacred spaces. The simplicity of these acts speaks of a faith that was accessible, woven into the lives of farmers, artisans, and traders alike. The Indus people's spirituality extended beyond formal rituals into the everyday. Seals and amulets, often inscribed with their mysterious script, were carried or worn, perhaps as talismans to ward off harm. Water, so vital to their survival, seems to have held a sacred place in their hearts. Wells, found in nearly every home, were not just sources of water, but symbols of life. Their depths, a connection to the earth's hidden gifts. Imagine a woman lowering a clay pot into a well, her hands steady, her thoughts turning to gratitude for the river that sustained her city. These small acts, repeated across generations, wove a tapestry of belief that held the Indus world together. Yet the absence of grand temples raises questions. Did the Indus people reject hierarchy in their worship, or have their sacred spaces simply crumbled into dust? The lack of evidence for kings or priests suggests a society where faith was personal, shared in homes and communities rather than dictated from above. As you picture a family gathered around a flickering lamp, their voices soft in prayer, you can feel the warmth of their connection, the quiet strength of their beliefs. But the story of the Indus Valley is not only one of spirit, but of ingenuity. Beyond their rituals, these people mastered the art of shaping their world, bending water to their will in ways that still astonish us. As the night grows stiller and the stars burn brighter, what marvels of engineering await us in the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro? The answer lies just ahead, in the flow of water and the genius of human hands. As the night wraps you in its tranquil embrace, let your thoughts flow like a river to the heart of the Indus Valley, where the people of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro worked miracles with water. In a land where the sun blazed and the rains came in torrents, these ancient architects harnessed the life-giving power of rivers, wells, and channels with a precision that feels almost otherworldly. Picture yourself standing in the heart of Mohenjo-Daro, the air warm and heavy, as you gaze upon a city where water was not just a resource, but a partner, tamed and celebrated in brick and stone. The engineering marvels of the Indus Valley civilization were not born of mere necessity, but of a profound understanding of the world, a dance between human ingenuity and the rhythms of nature. Water was the pulse of the Indus cities, and the people shaped it with a mastery that set them apart from their contemporaries. In Mohenjo-Daro, the Great Bath stands as a monument to this genius, its vast rectangular pool a testament to both function and beauty. Imagine its smooth brick walls, sealed with bitumen to hold water tight, reflecting the sky like a mirror. The steps descending into its depths, worn by countless feet, suggest a place where people gathered not just to bathe, but to connect, perhaps in ritual or community. The bath's design was no accident. Its construction required precise measurements, a knowledge of waterproofing, and a vision that blended utility with grace. As you picture the water rippling under a crescent moon, You can almost hear the soft splash of footsteps, the murmur of voices sharing stories by its edge. Beyond the Great Bath, the cities were laced with an intricate network of water management systems that speak of a society obsessed with order and cleanliness. Every major street in Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro was flanked by covered drains, their baked brick channels sloping gently to carry waste away from homes and markets. These drains, some wide enough to walk through, were meticulously maintained, with manholes for cleaning, a feature so advanced it feels startlingly modern. Imagine a worker lowering himself into a drain, his lamp casting shadows on the smooth bricks, ensuring the city's lifeblood flowed unhindered. This was a civilization that understood hygiene as a cornerstone of urban life, a people who saw water not just as sustenance, but as a guardian of health. Wells were another marvel, dotting the cities like stars in a desert sky. In Mohenjo-Daro alone, archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of wells, some private, nestled within the courtyards of homes, others public, shared by neighborhoods. These wells were engineering feats, their circular walls lined with wedge-shaped bricks that locked together like a puzzle, descending deep into the earth to reach clean water. Picture a woman at dawn, her hands steady as she draws a clay pot from the cool depths, the rope creaking softly against the stone rim. These wells ensured that even in the driest months, when the rivers dwindled, the cities remained alive, their people sustained by the foresight of their builders. The Indus people's mastery extended to their fields and beyond their cities. Along the rivers, they constructed channels and reservoirs to manage the seasonal floods, directing water to irrigate crops or store for lean times. At sites like Dhalavira, in the arid region of Gujarat, they carved reservoirs out of solid rock, their edges precise, as if cut by a giant's chisel. These massive basins, some linked by channels, captured rainwater and river flow, a lifeline in a land where drought was a constant threat. Imagine standing at the edge of such a reservoir, the stone warm under your feet, the water below reflecting the fleeting clouds. This was a people who planned for the future, who saw water as a partner in their survival. The sophistication of these systems hints at a society with deep knowledge, not just of engineering, but of mathematics and planning. The bricks used in drains and wells were standardized, their sizes uniform across cities hundreds of miles apart, suggesting a shared system of measurement. Weights, too, were standardized, carved from stone with such precision they could balance a merchant's scales from Harappa to Lothal. This was no haphazard civilization, but one that thrived on order, where engineers and planners worked together to create cities that functioned like living organisms, their systems as vital as breath. Yet, for all their genius, the Indus people left no boastful inscriptions, no monuments to their architects. Their achievements were practical, woven into the fabric of daily life rather than shouted from rooftops. This humility only deepens the mystery of who they were. Did they see their work as a sacred duty, a way to honor the rivers that sustained them? Or was their engineering simply a reflection of a practical mind, solving problems with quiet efficiency? As you imagine the soft gurgle of water flowing through a drain, the steady rhythm of a city at peace, you can feel the weight of their ingenuity, a legacy carved in brick and water. But the story of the Indus Valley is more than its structures. Beyond the wells and drains lies a question. How did these people live together, share their cities, and organize their world? As the night grows deeper and the stars burn brighter, the next chapter calls us to explore the lives of the people themselves, to uncover the heart of their society and the bonds that held it together. As the night folds around you like a soft blanket, let your mind wander through the streets of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, where the hum of daily life echoes across millennia. The Indus Valley civilization, now at its zenith around 2500 BCE, was a world of order and ingenuity, its cities pulsing with the rhythms of countless lives. But who were these people who walked the grid-like streets, who drew water from wells and bartered in bustling markets? What bound them together in these urban havens, and how did they share the spaces they built with such care? Picture yourself among them, the air warm with the scent of baked bread, the laughter of children mingling with the clatter of carts. This is the story of a society that seems, at first glance, to defy the hierarchies of its time. A civilization that may have been woven from threads of equality, yet holds secrets we are only beginning to unravel. The cities of the Indus Valley offer a tantalizing glimpse into a society that feels both familiar and enigmatic. Unlike the towering palaces of Mesopotamia or the divine tombs of Egypt, Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro reveal no grand residences for kings or high priests. The homes, built of uniform baked bricks, vary in size, but not in opulence. A modest dwelling might sit beside a larger one, yet both share the same access to wells, drains, and courtyards, as if wealth and status were not flaunted in stone. Imagine walking through a neighborhood at dusk, the rooftops alive with families sharing meals under the stars, their voices blending into a chorus of community. Could this be a society where differences in rank were subtle, where the common good outweighed individual ambition? Archaeologists have found no evidence of vast royal complexes or monumental temples, which raises a question that lingers like a whisper. Was the Indus Valley a society of equals? The uniformity of their cities, standardized bricks, planned streets, shared water systems, suggests a collective spirit, a people who worked together to create harmony. Artifacts like seals and weights, used across vast distances, point to a shared system of trade and measurement, as if the cities were bound by a common purpose. Yet, equality does not mean sameness. Some homes were larger, with more rooms or private wells, hinting at differences in wealth or influence. Perhaps there were leaders, merchants, elders, or ritual specialists who guided without dominating, their authority earned rather than imposed. Daily life in the Indus cities was a tapestry of shared routines. In the mornings, markets came alive with the chatter of trade. Farmers brought baskets of wheat and barley, their harvests stored in granaries that loomed like silent guardians over the city. Artisans, their hands stained with clay or metal, offered pots and beads, while traders displayed goods from distant lands, lapis, lazuli from Afghanistan, shells from the Arabian Sea. Imagine a woman weaving cotton in her courtyard, her loom clicking rhythmically, the fabric destined for a Mesopotamian merchant or a local family. Children played in the alleys, rolling terracotta dice or chasing tiny wheeled carts, their laughter a reminder that joy was as much a part of life as labor. The absence of weapons or fortifications in these cities paints a picture of peace, or at least a society confident in its stability. Unlike their contemporaries, who built walls to fend off invaders, the Indus people seemed to trust in their rivers and their unity. This is not to say they were without conflict. Human nature is rarely so simple. But the lack of evidence for warfare suggests a culture that valued cooperation over conquest. Picture a council of elders, perhaps gathered under a pipal tree, settling disputes with words rather than swords, their decisions shaping the city's course. Were these leaders chosen for their wisdom, their wealth, or their connection to the sacred? The silence of the archaeological record invites us to imagine. The lives of women, though less visible in the artifacts, were undoubtedly central to this world. Terracotta figurines of women, adorned with jewelry and headdresses, suggest they held roles of significance, perhaps as mothers, priestesses, or keepers of tradition. Imagine a woman tending a fire altar in her home, her hands steady as she offers grain to the flames, or teaching her daughter to spin cotton, passing down skills that sustained the family. Men, too, filled diverse roles: farmers, traders, artisans. Yet the lack of grandiose statues or inscriptions suggests no single figure towered above the rest. This was a society where the collective seemed to matter more than the individual, where the rhythm of life was shared. Food was a cornerstone of this communal spirit. Kitchens, often tucked into courtyards, were filled with the aromas of flatbreads baked on clay ovens, lentils simmered with spices, and fish caught from the rivers. The surplus stored in granaries ensured no one went hungry, a testament to a society that planned for the collective good. Festivals, though unrecorded, likely brought people together, perhaps to celebrate the harvest or honor the rivers. Picture a city square at night, lit by torches, where dancers moved to the beat of drums, their shadows flickering on brick walls, binding the community in shared joy. Yet, for all its harmony, the Indus society raises questions that tug at the edges of our understanding. How did they govern themselves without visible kings? Did their lack of monumental temples mean faith was personal? Or have we simply not found their sacred spaces? As you imagine the soft glow of lamps lighting up a Harappan home, the warmth of a family gathered together, you can feel the strength of their bonds, the quiet pride of a people who built a world together. But this world was sustained by more than community. It rested on the bounty of the land. Beyond the cities, fields stretched toward the horizon, tended by farmers who fed a civilization. What secrets did their harvests hold? And how did the rhythms of the seasons shape their lives? As the night grows softer and the stars gleam brighter, the story of the Indus Valley calls us to the fields, where the earth itself tells a tale of abundance and care. As the night settles over you, gentle and serene, let your thoughts drift beyond the bustling streets of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro to the vast, fertile plains where the Indus Valley civilization drew its strength. Here, where the rivers wove their silver threads through the earth, the fields stretched like a green sea, rippling under the warm sun. The people of the Indus were not only builders of cities, but tenders of the land, their lives intertwined with the cycles of sowing and reaping. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a field, the air heavy with the scent of damp soil, the distant lowing of cattle blending with the rustle of barley in the breeze. This is the story of the farmers who fed a civilization, whose quiet labor turned the gifts of the rivers into the foundation of a thriving world. The Indus Valley was a land blessed by nature's generosity. The rivers Indus, Ravi, Gagarhakra were more than waterways. They were the lifeblood of agriculture, their seasonal floods spreading rich silt across the plains. This silt, dark and fertile, was a gift that renewed the earth each year, transforming arid stretches into fields that yielded abundance. The farmers of the Indus understood this rhythm, their lives tuned to the pulse of the seasons. In the spring, when the rivers swelled, they channeled water into their fields, guiding it with earthen embankments to irrigate crops. In the dry months, they relied on wells and reservoirs, their ingenuity ensuring the land never went thirsty. Imagine a farmer, his hands calloused from work, standing ankle-deep in a flooded field, planting seeds with a hope that would bloom into harvests. The crops of the Indus Valley were as diverse as they were vital. Wheat and barley were the staples, their golden stalks swaying in the fields, ground into flour for flatbreads that nourished city and village alike. Millet, hardy and resilient, thrived in drier soils, while rice, found at sites like Lothal, hints at experiments with new grains. Pulses, lentils, peas, and chickpeas added protein to diets, their earthy flavors simmering in clay pots over courtyard fires. Cotton, too, was a triumph. Its soft fibers spun into textiles that clothed the people and traveled as far as Mesopotamia. Picture a woman plucking cotton bolls under the midday sun, her basket brimming with white fluff, each fiber a thread in the civilization story. Animals were partners in this agricultural world. The humped zebu cattle their silhouettes iconic on Indus seals, were the backbone of the fields. They pulled wooden plows through the soil, their steady strength turning earth for planting. Oxen hauled carts laden with grain to city granaries, their hooves kicking up dust along well-worn paths. Goats and sheep grazed the edges of fields, their milk and meat sustaining families, while their wool was woven into coarse fabrics. Water buffalo, at home in the marshy riverbanks, provided milk and labor, their dark eyes gleaming in the twilight. Imagine a boy herding his flock along a river's edge, his whistle mingling with the calls of birds, a scene unchanged across centuries. The farmer's tools were simple but effective, crafted with the same care as the city's bricks. Plows of wood, sometimes tipped with stone, broke the soil, while sickles of flint or copper reaped the harvests. Storage was an art form. Granaries, massive and sturdy, stood in cities like Harappa, their raised platforms protecting grain from damp and pests. At Dalavira, huge rock-cut reservoirs stored water for irrigation, ensuring fields could bloom even in drought. These structures were not just practical, but communal, a testament to a society that planned for the collective good. Picture a granary at harvest time, its chambers filled with sacks of barley, the air alive with the chatter of farmers and overseers, ensuring no grain was wasted. Agriculture shaped not just the economy, but the rhythm of life. The seasons dictated festivals, likely moments of gratitude for bountiful harvests or prayers for rain. Imagine a village gathered at dusk, their voices rising in song as they offer the first grains to a fire altar, the flames casting shadows on smiling faces. These moments of unity strengthened the bonds between city and countryside, between those who tilled the fields and those who traded in the markets. The surplus from the fields allowed artisans to focus on their crafts, merchants to travel far, and cities to grow into centers of culture and innovation. Yet, the life of a farmer was not without challenges. The rivers, though generous, could be capricious, their floods sometimes washing away fields or villages. Droughts, too, tested the resilience of these communities, forcing them to rely on their reservoirs and wells. The farmer's success depended on their deep knowledge of the land, knowing when to plant, how to divert water, which crops would thrive. This wisdom, passed down through generations, was as vital as the tools they wielded. Picture an elder teaching a young farmer to read the sky, pointing to clouds that promise rain, their bond a bridge between past and future. The fields of the Indus Valley were more than a source of food. They were the heartbeat of a civilization, sustaining its cities and dreams. But this heartbeat echoed far beyond the valley, carried by merchants who traded the fruits of these fields with distant lands. As you imagine the golden fields fading into the twilight, the soft clink of a farmer's sickle against the stalks, a new question arises. What treasures did these traders carry? And how did their journeys weave the Indus Valley into the wider world. The night grows deeper, and the story beckons us onward to a tale of ships, seals, and distant shores. As the night enfolds you in its quiet embrace, let your imagination sail across the vast plains and shimmering seas of the ancient world, where the people of the Indus Valley reached out to distant lands. By 2500 BCE, the cities of Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, and their outposts were not solitary beacons, but vibrant hubs in a web of trade that stretched far beyond the river's embrace. Their merchants, bold and resourceful, carried the bounty of their fields and workshops to the bustling ports of Mesopotamia, where rivers met the sea and cultures intertwined. Picture a boat gliding along the Arabian Sea, its reed hull laden with cotton and beads, the horizon glowing with the promise of distant markets. This is the story of the Indus Valley's trade with Mesopotamia, a tale of connection that wove their civilization into the tapestry of the ancient world. The journey began in the heart of the Indus cities, where traders prepared their goods with care. From the fields came sacks of wheat and barley, their weight a testament to the farmer's toil. From workshops came treasures of craftsmanship, beads of carnelian and agate polished to a fiery glow, and cotton textiles, soft and durable, spun from the valley's abundant crops. These goods were packed into carts or boats, each item a piece of the Indus story destined for foreign shores. Imagine a merchant in Lothal, a coastal outpost, overseeing the loading of his vessel, his hands tracing the edges of a steatite seal carved with a unicorn and cryptic symbols. These seals, pressed into clay, were his signature, a mark of trust that would travel thousands of miles. The trade routes were as varied as the goods they carried. Overland, caravans wound through the rugged passes of the Hindu Kush, braving dust and heat to reach the markets of Central Asia. But the sea was the true highway of this age. From ports like Lothal, with its ingeniously designed dockyard, into ships, likely made of reeds and wood, sealed with bitumen, set sail along the Arabian Sea. They hugged the coast, stopping at trading hubs like Dilmun, modern Bahrain, and Magan, modern Oman, where goods changed hands before reaching the Mesopotamian cities of Uruk, and Susa. Picture the creak of oars against the waves, the salt air sharp on a sailor's face, as the boat nears a foreign port, its towers rising like mirages from the desert. In Mesopotamia, the Indus goods were prized. Cotton textiles, a rarity in a land of wool and linen, draped the shoulders of Sumerian elites, their lightness a luxury in the stifling heat. Indus beads, their colors catching the sun, adorned necks and wrists in bustling markets. In return, Mesopotamian merchants offered silver, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, and tin, essential for crafting bronze. These exchanges were not just of goods, but of ideas, carried on the breath of traders who shared stories of their homelands. Mesopotamian records speak of a land called Meluha, likely the Indus Valley, a place of wealth and mystery. Imagine a Sumerian scribe, his stylus pressing into clay, recording the arrival of a Meluhan ship, its cargo a marvel to his city. The Indus seals were the linchpin of this trade, small but powerful. Each bore a unique design, a bull, a rhinoceros, or the enigmatic unicorn alongside the undeciphered script that marked ownership or authenticity. In Mesopotamia, archaeologists have found these seals in the ruins of Ur and Susa. Their presence, a whisper of the Indus traders who walked those streets. Some seals show traces of wear, as if passed through many hands, their symbols a silent language of trust across cultures. Picture a Mesopotamian merchant turning an Indus seal in his palm, marveling at its craftsmanship, wondering about the distant land that sent it. Did he know of Harappa's ordered streets or Mohenjo-Daro's great bath? The seals carry no answers, only questions that linger like stars in the night sky. This trade was not without risk. The sea could be treacherous, its storms swallowing boats whole. Overland routes were plagued by bandits and harsh terrain, yet the Indus traders persevered, their ambition as vast as the seas they crossed. Their ships, guided by the stars and the knowledge of currents, were marvels of early navigation. At Lothal, the dockyard, a massive basin carved into the earth, allowed ships to load and unload even during shifting tides. A feat of engineering that speaks of a people who understood the sea's moods. Imagine a sailor standing on the dock at dawn, his eyes scanning the horizon, his heart torn between the call of home and the promise of distant shores. These connections shaped the Indus Valley as much as they did Mesopotamia. The influx of silver and lapis lazuli fueled craftsmanship, while the exchange of ideas, perhaps in weights, measures, or even stories, enriched both cultures. The Indus people, though distant, were part of a global network, their goods and ingenuity leaving echoes in the clay tablets of Sumer. As you picture a trader returning to Harappa, his cart heavy with foreign treasures, you can feel the pulse of a civilization that thrived on connection, its horizons ever widening. Yet, even as their trade flourished, the Indus Valley held secrets of its own. The cities that sent these goods abroad were beginning to face challenges, whispers of change carried on the winds. What forces began to stir in the heart of this civilization, and what shadows loomed over its golden age? As the night grows stiller and the stars burn brighter, the story of the Indus Valley draws us deeper to a mystery that waits to unfold. As the night deepens, wrapping you in a cocoon of quiet, let your thoughts drift to the twilight of the Indus Valley civilization, a time when the vibrant cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro began to fade like stars at dawn. Around 1900 BCE, something shifted in this land of rivers and order. A change so subtle yet profound that it left the once thriving cities silent. The streets that once echoed with the chatter of merchants and the laughter of children grew quiet. The great baths stood empty, and the fields lay untended. What brought this civilization, so advanced and resilient, to its knees? Picture yourself standing amid the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, the wind carrying whispers of a mystery that has puzzled scholars for centuries. This is the story of the Indus Valley's decline, a tale woven from clues in the earth and theories that dance like shadows in the night. The decline of the Indus Valley was not a single moment, but a slow unraveling, a tapestry fraying at the edges. Unlike the dramatic falls of other ancient civilizations, marked by conquest or catastrophe, the Indus story is one of gradual retreat. Archaeologists find no evidence of widespread destruction, no charred walls or broken weapons to suggest a violent end. Instead, the cities show signs of abandonment, their homes left empty, their drains clogged with silt. Imagine walking through Harappa's streets, the once precise grid now littered with crumbling bricks, the air heavy with the scent of dust. Granaries, once brimming with grain, stand hollow, their platforms cracked by time. What could have driven a people so skilled, so connected, to walk away from their cities? One theory points to the rivers, the lifeblood of the Indus world. The Ghaggar-Hakra, once a mighty river that rivaled the Indus, began to weaken, its waters dwindling as the climate grew drier. Geologists tell us that around 2000 BCE, the monsoon patterns shifted, the rains that fed the rivers becoming less reliable. Fields that once bloomed with wheat and barley turned parched, their yields shrinking under a relentless sun. In Dalavira, the rock-cut reservoirs, so carefully crafted, began to dry, their stone walls holding only memories of water. Picture a farmer standing at the edge of his field, his eyes scanning a cloudless sky, his heart heavy with the knowledge that the rains might not come. Could this slow drying of the land have starved the cities, forcing their people to seek new homes? Another theory whispers of tectonic shifts, the earth itself betraying the civilization it had cradled. The Himalayas, ever restless, may have altered the courses of the rivers, diverting the Indus or its tributaries away from the cities they once sustained. In Mohenjo-Daro, layers of silt suggest flooding, not the gentle floods that enriched the soil, but destructive surges that overwhelmed homes and fields. Imagine a family fleeing their home as muddy waters rise, their possessions swept away, their trust in the river broken. Such disruptions could have fractured the delicate balance of agriculture and trade, scattering communities as they sought more stable lands. Some scholars propose human hands in the decline, though not through war. Overuse of the land, perhaps from centuries of intensive farming, may have exhausted the soil, reducing harvests and straining the city's resources. Deforestation, to fuel kilns or build homes, could have stripped the landscape, leaving it vulnerable to erosion. Picture a one-slush plain now dotted with barren patches, the trees that once shaded villages reduced to stumps. The Indus people, so skilled in planning, may have faced limits they could not foresee, their ingenuity outpaced by the demands of a growing population. A more controversial theory suggests outsiders, nomadic groups from Central Asia, perhaps the early Indo-Aryans, who may have disrupted the Indus world. Yet the absence of weapons, battle scars, or mass graves casts doubt on tales of invasion. If newcomers arrived, their impact may have been subtler, a gradual mingling of cultures that shifted the Indus way of life. Imagine a trader from a distant steppe, his language unfamiliar, bartering with an Indus merchant under a pipal tree. Could such encounters have reshaped the cities, blending old traditions with new, until the Indus identity began to fade? The clues left behind are as haunting as they are scarce. In Mohenjo-Daro, archaeologists found skeletons lying in the streets, some holding hands, as if caught in a moment of sudden flight. Yet these are few, not evidence of a massacre, but perhaps of a final, desperate departure. Pottery becomes cruder in the later layers, seals less intricate, as if the artisan's skills waned with the city's fortunes. Trade with Mesopotamia, once vibrant, slows to a trickle, the seals of Meluhha vanishing from Sumerian ports. Picture a dock at Lothal, its basin empty, the boats that once sailed for Dilmun left to rot in the sand. The decline was not uniform. Some cities, like Harappa, lingered longer, their people adapting to changing times. Smaller settlements, like those in Gujarat, grew as the great urban centers faded, suggesting a migration to new lands. The Indus people did not vanish, but transformed, their culture blending into the currents of history. Yet the mystery remains. What tipped the balance? Was it the rivers, the climate, or the weight of their own success? As you imagine the last families leaving Mohenjo-Daro, their footsteps soft in the dust, you can feel the weight of their departure, the silence that settled over their cities. The story of the Indus Valley does not end here, for even in decline, its echoes linger. The cities, though abandoned, were not forgotten, waiting beneath the earth for rediscovery. What secrets did they hold? And how did the modern world come to know their name? As the night grows softer and the stars gleam brighter, the tale of the Indus Valley calls us forward to a time when the dust parted and the cities spoke again. As the night cradles you in its gentle hush, let your thoughts wander to the quiet plains of the Indus Valley, where the once vibrant cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro stood silent, their streets empty under a sky that had watched their rise and fall. By 1800 BCE, the pulse of these urban centers had faded, their brick homes and grand baths left to the mercy of time and dust. The people who built them, who traded across seas and tamed rivers, had moved on, leaving behind cities that seemed to sleep beneath the earth. Centuries passed, then millennia, until the modern world, with curious hands and eager minds, began to uncover their secrets. Picture yourself standing amid the ruins, the wind whispering through broken walls, as the story of the Indus Valley civilization is reborn. This is a tale of abandonment and rediscovery, of cities lost and found, and of a past that refuses to be forgotten. The abandonment of the Indus cities was a slow, almost ghostly process. In Harappa, the orderly streets began to crumble, their drains clogged with silt and debris. Mohenjo-Daro's great bath, once a place of gathering, stood dry, its bricks loosening under the weight of seasons. Granaries, once filled with the bounty of the fields, were left hollow, their platforms cracked by the sun. Imagine a final family packing their belongings, a clay pot, a string of beads, a child's terracotta toy, before turning away from their home, their footsteps fading into the distance. The cities did not fall to fire or sword, but to a quiet exodus as their people sought new lands, perhaps driven by the drying rivers or the shifting climate that had once sustained them. Why did they leave? The clues are scattered, like pieces of a puzzle buried in the earth. In Mohenjo-Daro, some houses show signs of hasty departure, with pottery left scattered on floors. Yet, there are no marks of widespread violence, no signs of a conquering army. The fields, once lush with wheat and barley, grew sparse as the Gagarhakra River dwindled, its waters no longer reaching the cities it had fed. Smaller settlements, like those in Gujarat or the eastern plains, began to grow, suggesting that the Indus people did not vanish, but migrated, adapting to new homes where the land was kinder. Picture a village springing up far from the old cities, its mud brick homes echoing the past, its people carrying the memory of Harappa in their tools and traditions. For centuries, the great cities slept beneath the earth, their stories buried under layers of dust and time. The Indus Valley became a land of villages, its urban glory a fading memory, its name lost to the ages. Local legends spoke of ancient places, but the world moved on, unaware of the civilization that had once rivaled Mesopotamia and Egypt. The rivers, though weaker, continued to flow, and the plains bore new cultures, their roots tangled with those of the Indus people. Imagine the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, half buried in sand, visited only by shepherds or the occasional wanderer, its bricks scavenged for new homes, its secrets hidden in plain sight. The rediscovery of the Indus Valley civilization began in the 19th century, when the modern world, with its thirst for knowledge, turned its gaze to the past. British colonial officials, surveying the Punjab for railways, stumbled upon Harappa in the 1820s. They noted the strange, mound-like ruins, their surfaces littered with baked bricks. One officer, Charles Masson, described a ruined brick castle. Unaware he stood atop a city over 4,000 years old. In the 1850s, bricks from Harappa were carted off to build railway ballast, a practical but heartbreaking loss. Yet these bricks, with their precise measurements, caught the eye of curious minds, hinting at a sophistication that demanded explanation. It was not until the 1920s that the true scale of the Indus Valley civilization came to light. Archaeologists, led by figures like John Marshall, began systematic excavations at Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. Picture the moment when Marshall's team uncovered the Great Bath, its bricks gleaming in the sun, or when they found seals with their mysterious script, each one a window into a lost world. The discovery sent ripples through the scholarly world, revealing a civilization that rivaled the great cultures of antiquity. In India, still under colonial rule, the finds sparked pride, a connection to an ancient heritage that stretched back millennia. Imagine an archaeologist brushing dust from a seal, its unicorn gazing back, as if whispering, "We were here." The rediscovery was not just of cities, but of a way of life. Excavations revealed the wells, the drains, the granaries, evidence of a society that planned with care and lived with harmony. Each find, from a child's toy to a potter's wheel, told a story of people who loved, worked, and dreamed. Yet the discoveries also deepened the mystery. The undeciphered script, the lack of palaces or temples, the absence of clear answers about the decline, all these left scholars yearning for more. Picture a team gathered under a tent at dusk, their lanterns casting light on maps and artifacts, debating what these silent cities meant. The rediscovery of the Indus Valley was a bridge between past and present, a reminder that history is never truly lost. The cities, though silent for millennia, spoke again through the hands that uncovered them. Their legacy lives not just in ruins, but in the questions they inspire, the stories they whisper to those who listen. As you imagine the first archaeologists standing amid Mohenjo-Daro's ruins, the weight of history in their hands, a new question arises. How did this ancient civilization shape the world that followed? As the night grows softer and the stars burn brighter, the story of the Indus Valley calls us to explore its echoes in the modern world. As the night weaves its gentle spell around you, let your thoughts drift across the centuries, from the silent ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro to the vibrant pulse of modern South Asia. The Indus Valley civilization, though it faded over 4,000 years ago, did not vanish into the dust of time. Its spirit lingers in the fields, the rivers, and the cultures that rose from its ashes, weaving threads of continuity that bind the ancient to the present. Picture yourself walking through a village in Punjab or Sindh, the air warm with the scent of wheat and the distant murmur of a river, and feel the echoes of a civilization that shaped the soul of a subcontinent. This is the story of the Indus Valley's legacy, a tale of enduring innovations, traditions, and mysteries that continue to resonate in the heart of modern India and beyond. The Indus Valley civilization left no chronicles or kings, names to echo through history. Yet, its influence is etched in the everyday. One of its most enduring gifts is agriculture, the art of coaxing life from the land. The wheat and barley that sustained Harappa's granaries are still staples in South Asian kitchens, ground into flour for rotis and parathas that fill homes with warmth. Cotton, first cultivated by Indus farmers, remains a cornerstone of India's textile industry. Its threads spun into saris and kurtas that carry the memory of ancient looms. Imagine a farmer in modern Punjab, his hands guiding a plow through fertile soil, unknowingly echoing the rhythms of his ancestors who tamed the Indus plains. The seasons they followed, the crops they nurtured, these practices have flowed through generations like the rivers themselves. The cities of the Indus, with their planned streets and sophisticated drains, set a standard for urban life that resonates today. The grid-like layouts of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, so precise and orderly, find echoes in the urban planning of modern South Asian cities, where infrastructure seeks to balance function and harmony. The Indus people's obsession with water management, wells, reservoirs, and drainage systems speaks to a legacy of ingenuity that lives on in India's efforts to harness its rivers and rains. Picture a modern engineer studying a canal in Gujarat, unaware that its design owes a debt to the rock-cut reservoirs of Dhalavira, where ancient hands carved solutions to drought. The Indus taught that a city thrives not just on wealth, but on care for its people, a lesson that echoes in the aspirations of today's urban planners. Craftsmanship, too, carries the Indus touch. The beads of carnelian and agate, once traded as far as Mesopotamia, have their descendants in the jewelry markets of Jaipur and Hyderabad, where artisans still polish stones with the same care. Pottery, adorned with patterns of fish and pipal leaves, finds echoes in the terracotta crafts of rural India, where potters shape clay with techniques passed down through millennia. Imagine a woman in a modern village, her hands spinning a potter's wheel, her work a silent homage to the artisans of Mohenjo-Daro. The seals, with their enigmatic animals and script, inspire modern artists who draw on their motifs, weaving the past into the present with every stroke. The spiritual life of the Indus Valley, though shrouded in mystery, may have planted seeds that bloomed in later traditions. The Proto-Shiva seal, with its meditative figure, hints at practices of contemplation that resonate in the yoga and meditation of modern India. The reverence for the pipal tree, etched on Indus artifacts, lives on in its sacred status in Hinduism and Buddhism. Its shade a place of reflection across the subcontinent. Picture a temple courtyard today, a pipal tree at its center, its leaves rustling as devotees offer prayers, unaware of the ancient hands that first honored its form. The fire altars of Harappa, with their simple offerings, echo in the havans of Hindu rituals, where flames carry prayers to the divine. The Indus Valley's trade networks, stretching to Mesopotamia and beyond, foreshadowed South Asia's role as a crossroads of culture. The ports of Lothal, with their bustling docks, find echoes in modern Mumbai or Karachi, where ships still carry goods across the Arabian Sea. The standardized weights and measures of the Indus, so precise they rivaled modern systems, laid a foundation for trade that persists in India's markets, where fairness in exchange remains a cultural value. Imagine a merchant in a modern bazaar, balancing scales with stone weights, his actions a distant reflection of the traders who once sailed to Dilmun. Yet, the Indus legacy is not just in tangible things, but in the spirit of resilience and adaptation. As the cities declined, their people did not vanish, but scattered, their culture blending into new communities across the subcontinent. The languages, traditions, and stories they carried may have shaped the early Indo-Aryan cultures, their influence subtle but profound. Genetic studies suggest that the descendants of the Indus people live on in modern South Asians, their DNA a silent testament to a shared past. Picture a festival in a modern village, where songs and dances carry rhythms that might have echoed in Harappa's squares, their origins lost, but their energy undimmed. The rediscovery of the Indus Valley in the 1920s sparked a sense of pride in India, a reminder of a heritage that predates empires and invasions. It inspired scholars, artists, and ordinary people to reconnect with their roots, to see their land as a cradle of civilization. Yet the Indus legacy also humbles us, for its mysteries, the undeciphered script, the absent kings remind us how much we have yet to learn. As you imagine a modern archaeologist sifting through the ruins, her hands brushing dust from a seal, you can feel the past reaching out, asking to be understood. But the story of the Indus Valley is not yet complete. Its unanswered questions beckon us deeper into the shadows of what we still don't know. What secrets lie locked in its script, and what truths remain buried in its earth? As the night grows softer and the stars burn brighter, the tale of the Indus Valley calls us to ponder its mysteries, to listen for the whispers of a civilization that still speaks. As the night deepens, its stillness wrapping you like a soft veil, let your mind linger on the quiet ruins of the Indus Valley, where the past whispers but never fully speaks. The cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, with their ordered streets and silent seals, have shared fragments of their story, tales of trade, craft, and ingenuity. But they guard their deepest secrets with a stubborn grace. After a century of excavation and study, the Indus Valley civilization remains a puzzle, its pieces scattered across time. Picture yourself standing atop a mound in Harappa, the starlit sky above, the earth below holding truths just out of reach. This is the story of the questions that haunt us, the mysteries that keep the Indus alive in our imagination, inviting us to wonder as we drift toward sleep. The greatest enigma of the Indus Valley is its script, a language etched on seals and tablets that refuses to yield its meaning. Over 400 signs, fish, tridents, jars, and strokes dance across steatite and clay, each one a locked door to the minds of the people who wrote them. Were these signs of full language, capturing stories, laws, or prayers? Or were they symbols, marking names, goods, or rituals? Imagine a scribe in Mohenjo-Daro, his stylus carving precise, lines under the flicker of an oil lamp, unaware that his words would one day tantalize scholars across millennia. Despite decades of effort, no Rosetta Stone has emerged, no key to unlock the script's secrets. Some believe it encodes a Dravidian tongue, others a lost language family, but the silence persists, a challenge that hums like a quiet melody in the night. Another mystery swirls around the nature of Indus society. Who led these cities, so meticulously planned, yet devoid of palaces or grand tombs? The absence of royal monuments or statues suggests a society without kings, perhaps guided by councils, merchants, or ritual leaders. Picture a gathering under a pipal tree, elders debating the city's needs, their voices calm but firm. Was this a society of equals, where power was shared? Or have we simply not found the traces of their elites? The uniformity of homes and the shared access to wells and drains hint at a collective spirit. But subtle differences, larger houses, finer beads, suggest hierarchies we cannot fully map. The Indus people's silence on their governance leaves us to imagine a world where authority was subtle, woven into the fabric of community. The decline of the civilization is another riddle, its causes veiled in the dust of centuries. We know the rivers weakened, the climate grew drier, and the cities were abandoned. But the why and how remain elusive. Did the people leave willingly, seeking greener lands, or were they forced out by floods, droughts, or unseen invaders? The skeletons in Mohenjo-Daro streets, some holding hands, speak of a moment of crisis, but their numbers are too few to suggest a massacre. Imagine a family pausing at their doorstep, their eyes scanning the horizon for a new beginning, their reasons lost to time. Theories of climate change, tectonic shifts, or overworked land offer pieces of the puzzle, but no single answer fits. The Indus decline is a tapestry of causes, its threads too tangled to unravel fully. The spiritual life of the Indus people adds another layer of mystery. The proto-Shiva seal and the terracotta figurines suggest a rich world of belief. But without texts or temples, we can only guess at their gods and rituals. Did they worship a great goddess, a meditative deity, or the rivers themselves? Picture a fire altar glowing in a Harappan courtyard, its flames fed with ghee, the air thick with whispered prayers. Were these acts of devotion personal, communal, or both? The lack of monumental shrines suggests a faith that lived in homes and hearts. But have we overlooked their sacred spaces, buried deeper in the earth, or lost to time? Even the scope of the civilization raises questions. How far did its influence reach? Sites like Dhalavira and Lothal show the Indus culture stretching across modern India and Pakistan. But what of the smaller settlements, the villages that may have carried its traditions. Trade with Mesopotamia proves their world was vast. But did their ideas travel even farther, shaping cultures we have yet to connect? Imagine a trader's story, told in a Sumerian market, carrying echoes of Harappa's streets to distant ears. The Indus Valley's boundaries, both physical and cultural, remain a frontier we are still exploring. These unanswered questions are not frustrations, but invitations, drawing us closer to the Indus people. Each artifact, a seal, a pot, a brick, is a clue, a fragment of a story that asks us to listen with patience. The silence of the script, the ambiguity of their society, the mystery of their decline, these are not walls, but windows, offering glimpses of a civilization that thrived on mystery as much as mastery. As you picture an archaeologist sifting through the ruins, her hands brushing dust from a seal, you can feel the pull of the unknown, the call to keep searching, keep dreaming. The Indus Valley story is not just one of cities and rivers, but of humanity itself, a reminder that our past is both anchor and horizon. As the night grows softer, what place does this ancient civilization hold in the grand sweep of our story? The stars above seem to know, and their light beckons us to a cosmic perspective, where the Indus shines as a moment in the eternal dance of time. As the night cradles you in its velvet embrace, let your gaze lift to the stars above, their ancient light a silent witness to the rise and fall of civilizations. The Indus Valley, with its cities of brick and rivers of life, was but a moment in the vast tapestry of human history. Yet its story shines like a constellation in the sky of our past, from the ordered streets of Harappa to the silent seals of Mohenjo-Daro. The people of this ancient land wove a tale of ingenuity, harmony, and mystery that resonates across millennia. Picture yourself lying on a rooftop in an Indus city, the cool night air brushing your skin, the stars above mirroring the dreams of those who walked below. This is the story of the Indus Valley's place in the cosmic dance of humanity, a reflection on its fleeting brilliance and enduring lessons. The Indus Valley civilization, flourishing over 4,000 years ago, was a spark in the eternal fire of human endeavor. Its people, with their precise bricks and intricate beads, were not so different from us, dreamers, builders, seekers of meaning in a world both beautiful and uncertain. They tamed rivers, traded across seas, and carved symbols that still elude us, all under the same stars that light our skies tonight. Imagine a merchant in Lothal, gazing at the constellations as his ship sways on the Arabian Sea, finding his way by their light. Those stars, unchanged in their patterns, connect us to him, a bridge across time that reminds us of our shared journey. In the grand sweep of history, the Indus Valley was one of the first great experiments in urban life. Its cities, with their planned grids and communal wells, were a bold attempt to create order in a chaotic world, to build a society where people could thrive together. Unlike the empires that followed, with their towering monuments and tales of conquest. The Indus people left no boasts, no statues of kings. Their legacy is quieter, etched in the everyday, in the weight of a clay pot, the curve of a drain, the flicker of a fire altar. Picture a family gathered in a Harappan courtyard, their laughter mingling with the night air, unaware that their simple acts would echo through centuries. Their story asks us to consider, what makes a civilization great? Is it the grandeur of its buildings, or the care it shows for its people? The Indus Valley's fall, as gradual as a fading star, speaks to the fragility of even the most advanced societies. The drying rivers, the shifting climate, the slow drift of its people to new lands, these were not failures, but part of the eternal cycle of change. Every civilization, like every star, has its season, its moment to shine before it dims. The Indus people adapted, their culture blending into new forms, their descendants carrying their wisdom into the future. Imagine a village in modern India, its fields still fed by ancient rivers, its people unaware of the Indus blood in their veins. Their resilience reminds us that endings are also beginnings, that the human spirit endures through transformation. This cosmic perspective invites us to see the Indus Valley not as a relic, but as a mirror. Its innovations, standardized weights, urban planning, water management, laid foundations for the world we inhabit. Its mysteries, the undeciphered script, the absent kings, challenge us to embrace the unknown, to find beauty in questions without answers. The Indus people, like us, lived under a sky that stretched beyond their understanding. Yet they built, loved, and dreamed with a courage that transcends time. Picture a child in Mohenjo-Daro, clutching a terracotta toy, her eyes wide with wonder at the stars. Her dreams, though lost to us, are part of the same spark that drives us to explore, to create, to seek meaning in the vastness. The Indus Valley's place in the stars is not just a metaphor, but a call to reflect on our own place in the universe. Their cities, now ruins, remind us that all we build is temporary, yet the ideas and values we cherish can endure. The Indus people's care for their communities, their harmony with the land, their quiet ingenuity, these are lights that still guide us. As you imagine their world fading into the night, you can feel the weight of their story, a reminder that we, too, are part of a larger whole. Our lives a fleeting but precious note in the symphony of existence. The Indus Valley's tale is nearly complete, but its echoes linger, calling us to a final farewell. What lessons will we carry from this ancient civilization, and how will its memory soothe us as we drift toward sleep? As the stars burn brighter and the night grows softer, the story of the Indus Valley beckons us to its closing chapter, a gentle reflection that will carry us into dreams. As the night wraps you in its tender stillness, like a lullaby sung by the stars, let license your heart linger one last time in the Indus Valley, where the rivers once cradled a civilization that shone like a beacon in the dawn of human history. The cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, with their ordered streets and silent seals, have shared their tale, a story of ingenuity, harmony, and quiet resilience that has carried us through the ages. Now, as the world grows hushed and the stars burn bright above, we stand at the edge of their ruins, ready to bid farewell to a people whose lives, though distant, feel as close as a whispered dream. Picture yourself sitting by the Indus River, its waters glinting under the moonlight, carrying the echoes of a civilization that still speaks to us. This is our final reflection, a gentle goodbye to the Indus Valley, crafted to carry you softly into sleep. The Indus Valley civilization was a world of balance, where human hands worked with nature's rhythms to build cities that pulsed with life. From the farmers who tamed the fields to the artisans who shaped beads like captured stars, from the traders who sailed to distant shores to the scribes who etched mysteries we cannot read, these people wove a tapestry of quiet brilliance. Their streets, laid out with care, their wells brimming with clear water, their homes filled with the warmth of family. These were not just structures, but expressions of a shared vision. Imagine a mother in Harappa, tucking her child into bed, her voice soft as she tells a story of the river's gifts, unaware that her world would one day captivate ours. What makes the Indus story so compelling is not its grandeur, but its humanity. Unlike empires that shouted their glory in stone, the Indus people spoke in whispers, in the precision of a brick, the curve of a pot, the flicker of a fire altar. Their lack of kings or towering temples suggests a society that valued community over conquest, connection over dominion. Picture a market at dusk, where neighbors bartered grain and laughter, their lives intertwined like the rivers that sustained them. Their story reminds us that greatness lies not in monuments, but in the small acts of care that hold a society together, a lesson that echoes in our own time. The mysteries of the Indus, their undeciphered script, their elusive leaders, their silent decline, only deepen their allure. Each unanswered question is a thread that ties us to them, inviting us to imagine their voices, their dreams. The seals, with their unicorns and cryptic signs, seem to gaze at us across the centuries, asking us to listen, to wonder. Imagine holding one in your hand, its surface cool and smooth, its secrets locked within. These mysteries are not barriers, but gifts, reminding us that history is not a puzzle to be solved, but a story to be cherished, its gaps filled with the colors of our imagination. As we say farewell, let's carry the Indus Valley's lessons with us. Their care for water, their harmony with the land, their networks of trade, these speak to a people who understood the delicate balance of life. Their resilience, as they adapted to changing rivers and fading cities, mirrors our own journey through an ever-shifting world. Picture a farmer leaving Mohenjo-Daro, his family at his side, carrying seeds and stories to new lands. His steps, though lost to time, planted the roots of modern South Asia, where the Indus spirit lives in fields, festivals, and the quiet pride of heritage. The rediscovery of the Indus Valley, centuries later, was a moment of reconnection, a bridge between past and present. The archaeologists who brushed dust from its ruins gave us back a piece of ourselves, a reminder that our story began long before we knew. As you imagine those first excavators, their lanterns glowing in the twilight, uncovering the great bath or a child's toy, you can feel the weight of their discovery, a civilization that had waited patiently to be remembered. The Indus Valley asks us to look at our own world with fresh eyes, to see the beauty in the everyday, the power in the collective. Now, as the night grows deeper and the stars weave their eternal patterns, let the Indus Valley fade gently into your dreams. Picture its rivers flowing softly, its cities glowing under a moonlit sky, its people living and loving in a world they made their own. Their story is part of yours, a thread in the vast tapestry of humanity, a lullaby to carry you into sleep. Let the whispers of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro linger in your heart, their secrets safe in the night, their legacy a gentle promise that even the smallest lives leave echoes that endure. As you drift toward sleep, the Indus Valley bids you good night, its rivers singing a final, soothing song. What dreams will you carry from this ancient land? And what new stories will the stars tell you as you rest? The night is yours, and the Indus waits, ever silent, ever present, in the quiet of your slumber. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Sleep well, and may the stars guide you to new horizons.